Welcome back to the OSRL Road Ranger 200 on Split Second Broadcasting. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We are back. The field is rolling now. We have started our pace laps, and we're about ready to get race number 14 on the season underway here. And we will, as such, we will take you through the starting lineup for tonight's race. On pole in the 99 is Brandon Hawken with five-time winner this season, Joe Armstrong, to his outside.
And row 2, you've got Ben Billard with Frank DeAngelis.
Row 3 consists of AJ Hyder there in the 5th spot and Paul Mikulajic in the 6th spot.
Ethan Corter and AJ Green will make up your next row for 7th and 8th.
Starting 9th is Mo Perry, two OSRL staples making up this row. Mo Perry and Cole Freilich rounding out your top 10.
And in row 6 will be Griffin Jones with Wesley Parker at his outside in 12th.
Tristan Baker rolls off from the 13th spot with William Schmidt, championship contender, or rather championship leader, William Schmidt rolling off in 14th.
With Ryan Pandiscio, I believe, in 15th, with Curtis Kelly to his outside in 16th.
Derek Shaver starts in the 17th spot with Aston Rice in the 3 car to his outside in 18th.
Gavin Austin will roll off 19th with Jackson Sims to his outside in 20th.
Cade McKee starts in the 21st spot with Joshua Chin, known speed in that 93 car. Look for him to make moves early to get to the front, rolling off from the 22nd position.
Another staple starting deep, Braden Movick back in 23rd. We've got Nicholas Budimilik to his outside in 24th.
Starting 25th is Corey Rexford with Chris Lilly lining up to his outside in 26th.
Noah Carmichael will roll off 27th with David Cabrera 28th.
Philip Kraus starts in the 29th position with Caden Reif, another driver looking to make his way towards the front here, rolling off from the 30th spot.
Other championship contender, while the third one is not here, Kendall Carpenter rolls off deep in 31st place, having to fall back on a provisional. John Daniels to his outside in the 02 car, 32nd.
Nolan Sanford lines up in the 33rd spot with Isaac Johnson to his outside, rolling off 34th.
And rounding out the field, you've got Chris Pervalarkis in 35th, Stephen Gibson 36th, and Trey Patton 37th. Sorry, I mentioned Joe Armstrong not here. He's actually starting 2nd. So your championship competitors, William Schmidt starting 14th, comes in here 27 points up. Joe Armstrong comes in Cole Freilich is 2nd in points. Joe Armstrong comes in 3rd in points, starting 2nd, and Cole Freilich will roll off 10th.
I think you can expect all 5 of those guys to be working their way towards the front in a hurry in this one. Points are a must. We are down to 2 races to go in the season. If anybody's got a shot to catch William Schmidt for that championship win, I think they're just going to have to hope for something bad to happen to that 79 car, Elliott, because it's with a big gap like that, at this point, it's going to be hard to catch him.
Yeah, I mean, 2 races to go, and this is one of them. And this league had an interesting point structure last season, but this season it's a little bit more normal. 45 points to the winner, essentially. May change a little bit because of bonus points, but it's basically the 40 down to 0 structure where second place gets 38-ish, and the winner gets that little bit of a boost up to about 44 or 45. So you're not going to be able to gain too much, but with this being Talladega, 36 cars starting, Schmidt with only a 27-point gap, 33 back to Armstrong. Anything can happen. Pace car's off.
Pace car dives onto pit lane here. They're going to come through the tri-oval, drive all the way through the tri-oval with that extra 1,000 feet down to the start-finish line. The field is in the hands of Brandon Hawken and Joe Armstrong making up that starting spot. Green flags in the air. We are racing in Talladega.
Now, we didn't get to cover anything, but fuel is looking like about 30 to 35 laps, somewhere in that window, and we have absolutely no idea what we're going to see tonight. This is the new Gen 4. We covered a bit of that before our intermission, right before this race started, and we don't really know what this draft is going to do, but we expect it to be similar to the truck and a lot of shoving to happen as we watch it down the straightaway. Armstrong, big run with pushes from, I believe that's Freilich on the outside, or DeAngelis on the outside. Some guys drop to the back.
Yep, couple drivers drop into the back. They want no part of the scuffle that is inevitably going to happen at the front of this at the front of this field. You see that a lot in iRacing Superspeedway races, where you'll get a handful of drivers like that who will just drop to the back and try and maintain a clean race while everybody scrambles up towards the front. And up front, it is Brandon Hawken leading this field through the tri-oval. Looks like he's going to have the lead this time across the start-finish line as Joe Armstrong gets shuffled out, and he's going to go backwards in a hurry.
He's actually got, I believe that might be some damage, to the rear of that car. I'm not sure if that was some type of internet connection issue or if those guys actually tangled really hard. That was DeAngelis and Armstrong trying to push on the top, but that's going to send Armstrong to the back and potentially give him some aero damage as now someone else jumps up to the top in front of DeAngelis.
Hawken continues to lead this lane here. That's the 818 car of, I'm not quite sure who that is. That is
Ethan Quarter.
Ethan Quarter there on the outside now. Thank you, Elliot. Leading that outside lane, trying to drag them back up alongside. And here they come with that big run of steam off of turn 4 through the tri-oval here. Look, they're already up to the third place car of AJ Hyder, looking for more. Here's they flash across the line this time.
And right now you've got, that's Ben Billard right behind Brandon Hawken, and he's been doing a really good job pushing, but that top lane is now coming in, and they're making some ground up there. We'll have to see how this run happens down the backstretch. You can see just how well aligned the bottom lane is, but that little bit of an edge, and now the top lane starts to set up really well. Now they're going to go 3 wide up the middle. I believe that's Mo Perry underneath Paul. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but that's a 75 on the top. And now Ethan Quarter is going to go backwards as well. We're 3 wide. DeAngelis to lead that middle lane.
Yeah, DeAngelis has captured that middle lane there, stalled the progress of Mo Perry, who's now at his back bumper here, and is going to be giving DeAngelis a push there through the tri-oval. Mark DeAngelis as the leader this lap here, 4 laps down here in Talladega.
Yeah, and that is not Mo Perry that's chasing him. That's actually the 48 of AJ Green, and they go to the lead. DeAngelis and Green kind of tandem drafting here. We haven't really seen that, but maybe these cars can make it work. As now here comes Hawken with the big run, and all 3 lanes coming up to them as they go off into turn 3.
Lots of side-by-side action here early on at Talladega in this new Gen 4 car, Elliot. It's looking like a lot like how the old Gen 4 car used to be, where you get stuck 3 by 3 by 3, and we saw that massive push that DeAngelis got with AJ Green out to the front there. Can anybody get up there to challenge him, as now AJ Green looks to the outside here to try and get that spot, and he will lead at the line this time.
Well, the positive and part of this update, as you've got Brandon Movick now trying to work that 3rd lane with the 818 of Quarter behind him, but the update with this car was actually fixing how the pushing works, and it doesn't really lift up your rear tires at super speedways as it worked in real life. So these guys can shove pretty hard, they can pump draft pretty hard, and you can see that big push from Quarter pushes Movick out. They're both clear and have the chance to come down. Let's see if they use it going into 3. They do, but basically this new model allows these guys to push as hard as they want. You can see just how much that helps those top lanes.
Absolutely right, as Braden Movick, powered by Ethan Quarter at his back bumper, races up to the top spot, and that top lane, Elliot, now is rolling here as now Quarter ducks down to the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to try and lead this lap at the line. Not going to be able to get there as he is all by himself, as now Curtis Kelly gets to the back bumper of Movick, and they will tandem away from this field there with, it appears, I believe that's Gavin Austin in tow there on the outside lane now. Those 3 on the outside have really been holding this field at bay for the last lap and a half or so.
Jackson Sims, big run. He goes to the bottom. He's got help behind him, I believe, from... We're trying to get caught up on all these paints and everything, everyone in new cars this week, but I believe that's Wesley Parker right there. Now they're going to work the bottom, but this model really lets these guys kind of push hard, and I'm not sure if maybe Curtis Kelly had some type of issue there with internet or if he had to back out of that, but he got right on the back of Movick and then had to back off. We haven't seen anything about these cars overheating, but that is a question mark if they try to tandem draft, as Sims will lead that lap, if these cars overheat and how much they can really push. But it doesn't look like they're having any issue trying to push each other with anything as far as the rear wheels trying to lift off the ground like they did previously.
Certainly not any problem there as Jackson Sims leads that one here down the back straightaway, but here comes Movick And Curtis Kelly there on the outside, powering back around Sims and Joe Armstrong there on the outside. Now Curtis Kelly looks to the outside here. He's going to try and take the fight up to Braden Movick there. They're going to be 3 wide as they come out of turn number 4, coming down the stripe this time. Curtis Kelly's got the advantage there on the high side as Jackson Sims now looking low there on the inside.
And just a quick note, the last time we were at a Superspeedway, Jackson Sims was the winner. It was a huge melee at the end, and Sims, I think, started that lap at about 13th and finished it with the win. So we've seen crazy stuff happen, and Movick almost gets turned from the lead right there. It's going to check up the bottom lane a little bit, but we know that these guys are aggressive, and they race hard. There they go. They're wrecking.
Big wreck here on the back straightaway. Kendall Carpenter is involved. Looks like he saves it. But I believe that's Ethan Corder spinning. Heavy contact there with another car. I believe that's the 30 car of Rexford there, who is stopped now up against the outside wall. Heavy contact for Ethan Corder. His night is most definitely done as he's crab walking back to the pit lane there. Heavy hit, a terrible blow to his chances tonight. He had such speed early on, was making a real good show of it here, all to get wiped away on lap 8.
Chris Lilly was also involved up in the top lane, and I don't want to butcher his last name, but Paul Mikoljiak was also involved in that. He was the one that ended up spinning to the inside. That's a 75, but you can see Ethan gets kind of just hooked. I don't know if he had to check up or if he was too close or what happened, but oh wow, big contact after the incident too as well. I didn't even see that, but he just kind of got in the back of Curtis, and from there he had to check up, and then I'm not sure if he got run over, if he had to cut left and then get turned back up into Braden Movick, but you can watch it right here, nice and close. You can see him pushing Chris. Chris gets a little offset a little bit a couple different times, but this is playing in slow-mo, so he's going to take a second to get to it, but I believe maybe Chris gets a little loose and it checks it checks Carter up just a little bit, and you can see he gets kind of just tossed down into Movick. I'm really surprised that Movick didn't get turned by this. Carpenter nowhere to really go, just runs him over, and then you can see the melee on the top lane. Don't know exactly who all's involved in that, but there were definitely a bunch of people, Chris Kelly and others.
And then a bad case of ARCA brakes there for Corey Rexford coming in. And Ethan Corder pretty much had it saved. Did a great job of holding the brake. And then Corey Rexford came in out of nowhere, absolutely ending any chance of a rebound for either of those drivers here. As we get one more look at it as Corder up into the outside wall and just around for the ride at this point. As now everybody, as we snap back to reality, everybody is on pit road. Well, I say everybody, all but 4 are on pit road. It looks like the top 4 stayed out. Curtis Kelly, Kendall Carpenter, Mo Perry, and Cade McKee have all stayed out on their 10-lap old tires. Everyone else has elected to come down and get fresh rubber and gas.
I don't really hate that strategy. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if that saves them anything for fuel. We have unlimited tires here because of the server issue, so they elected to just keep unlimited tires. It's a track that doesn't matter at the end of the day. So I think for a lot of these guys, it was just about coming in, getting fuel. Now they can do it on basically, I believe it'd just be one stop from here because they can go about 30 to 35 laps. So that will put you at 40, and then you can do 70, 75-ish. So anybody that just pit now can make it on one stop if we get one stop. But I think a lot of these guys up front, the guys that stayed out, are basically assuming that we're going to get another yellow, and they're not going to have to worry about that, which, let's be honest, it's Talladega. You kind of just assume that you're going to be able to handle that. But I do like the idea of coming down pit road, topping off with the majority, so that when these green flag pit stops happen, if they do, you can come down with the big group and not just have, the 3 or 4 of you potentially lose the draft that way because there's just limited cars in that group.
Well, if that scenario happens, Elliot, we'll get to answer another big question about this car. How well does a small pack work against the big field in terms of drafting and trying to get either away or back up to them on an off strategy? If these 4 cars right here get caught out, will they be able to run down that pack and reinsert themselves back into this race?
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, and it's kind of where I hope that something like that happens with these strategies, or at least pit stops, green flag pit stops in general happen, because it'd be nice to kind of see I know previously with these cars, with Xfinity cars, and with other cars, they like to run side by side in a group of 10 to 15 cars. That's faster than just a single file line of 5 or 6 or 7 cars in some cases. So you just have to see. It depends on the drivers, depends on who's pushing, depends on who's in the group and how aggressive the side draft and everything is. But typically these guys or these cars do better side by side in a larger group than they do single file with a limited stack. So we'll have to see how that works out. But right now, these 4 up front have made their bed, and that's what they're sticking with, and everyone else will have to kind of make it work for them.
Field slowly making its way around this 2.6 mile tri-oval here. Field in the hands of Curtis Kelly and Kendall Carpenter making up that top row. And we talked about Carpenter starting deep in the field early on. Elliot, it's already lap 11. He's on the outside, the outside row on this restart, right there for the taking. I mean, he got up to the front in a hurry.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I thought I got my names mixed up, and I thought Kendall came in here second or third in points. The only bonus point that we hand out in this league is for most laps led. So pretty much where you finish is where you end up with points. So right now, I believe either Curtis Kelly or Brandon Hawken probably have the most laps led, and neither of them are in championship contention. So I think for someone like William Schmidt, Cole Fralick, Joe Armstrong, it's just kind of survive and be there at the end. So Kendall just up here doing what Kendall likes to do. Obviously started near last in 31st, had a messed up qualifying, had to rely on his provisional, but he is a race car driver through and through, and he's going to put himself up front. And I think he's, there's 2 types of people when it comes to super speedway racing. You want to be up front to avoid everything, or you want to be dead last to avoid everything. And Kendall is definitely the one that says, I want to be leading this instead of back in 30th.
And you can't really blame him for that strategy. Let the wrecks all happen behind you. They can't touch you that way as the pace car dives onto pit lane here, and the field will slowly make their way through this tri-oval once again so we can get back to racing. Curtis Kelly has the field in his control through the restart zone. Green flag is back out, and we are racing once again here in Talladega. Lap number 12 on the books. And it looks like Kendall Carpenter got a great launch there on the outside. He's going to have the advantage as they go off into one, but it looks like Mo Perry is going to get to the back bumper of Curtis Kelly first, and he will push him out to a nose length advantage. Now 2 lanes make it 3 lanes now, as here comes Caden Reif on the outside all by himself, trying to get up there alongside. The 26 of Cade McKee moves up there too. They're 3 wide into 3 already.
And that was a great move by Cade. I thought he laid back a little too far on the start, but it actually worked out really well for him. Now he's out there all by himself because Kendall just seems to be struggling. I'm almost wondering if that little bit of front end contact may have messed with his car just enough. He's honestly not even going to lay out the 26 as Mo Perry from the bottom all the way to the top, and now we're going to have a stack up in the middle of the wrecking.
Caution flag is out once again. Curtis Kelly goes around after leading this field for the last 2 laps since that restart. And it doesn't look like he's got a whole lot of damage as we see another car there with its hood up, so that's going to be something there. But that 29 car there, not looking too bad.
Well, he was okay until he just got
considered.
He was okay until he just got pile driven right there. I don't know who that was that ended up running into the back of him, but it was all kind of straightened out. But yeah, that looked like just a pretty standard stack up of, I think, Curtis didn't really know where he was going to go there, and he just kind of sat in the middle and said, this is a spot I'm going to be in regardless of what happens. And it makes a lot of sense, but Kendall was pushing McKee so hard, McKee couldn't do anything, and by the time they all backed out of it, it just kind of got Kelly just turned around there down into, I believe that was the 0-2 of Gavin Austin, and again, he was fine up until right there. I believe that's the 33. That's Isaac Johnson, unfortunately, nowhere to go.
Well, you want to talk about a driver who made the right moves at the right time. Mo Perry, with that elevator move from the bottom to the top through the tri-oval, got himself out of dodge and out of trouble. Because he was right there in the catbird seat for a front row seat to that wreck, if not was going to be in it here as we ride along in the back here to watch this unfold, and you're just going to see a bunch of smoke start going up in the air as cars scatter everywhere. Now look at this heavy contact there. You said that was the 33 of Isaac Johnson there we rode along with. Heavy contact will more than likely end his night. Well, Elliot, we said it in the last caution. It's Talladega. Cautions tend to happen.
Yeah, and that's really frustrating for Isaac Johnson. He's usually right around the top 10 every single race we broadcast here. Is everyone's going to hit pit road? Yeah, pretty standard as we rewatch the wreck. But for Isaac Johnson, it's frustrating to watch him be involved in this. He seems to be right around the top 10 every week, and then every other week something like this happens to him, and he just kind of has nowhere to go, and he's just there. So, yeah, it looked like Kelly was still trying to go left or trying to save it and sent the car left. And Isaac made a really hard turn left to avoid it, but unfortunately they both just kind of collected. And Mo Perry's going to get the lead here off of pit road, though.
But we had a couple cars stay out now, Elliot. Jackson Sims in that chrome American Airlines number 6 is going to inherit the lead here, followed by Chris Pervolarkis there in the 49. We had about six cars stay out.
I think it makes sense. If you pitted under the last caution, you can make it on one stop. Everyone else can. It's just going to come down to how these green flag pit stops happen, if/when they do happen. So, yeah, I think I was going to say, I think these guys want to be in the lead to avoid the drama, but that's exactly where Kelly just was before he got turned. So I don't really know where you want to be at this point, but I think a lot of these guys are deciding that track position means a little bit more than coming down and trying to get fuel or tires.
Well, if I'm in this race, I am electing to go to the back and let this one ride out for a little bit, hopefully, and calm down. Based on that last wreck and what I was seeing in practice, a lot of drivers were having trouble taking pushes from the guy behind them. This car seems to get really unstable. That or the car behind just thinks that they can drive right up on the back bumper of the car in front with this new flat nose that they've got there on this super speedway package, and it upsets that car a lot more than what I think people expected. And so I think some guys are having have a little trouble coming to grips with that. But I would like to go to the back if I was in this race to try and let this ride out and calm down, maybe get some more laps under everyone's belt, more comfortable with the new car, and then re-rack and restack a little bit later on in the race to try and make my way back towards the front.
And I think that's what 2 of our top 3 championship contenders think as well, as they continue to see if they pit this time by. Movic has adopted the strategy of pitting every single chance he can here. But Freilich and Schmidt are both back, I think, just outside the top 10. You're going to have to see where they recycle this time after some guys hit pit road. But Joe Armstrong has moved his way up inside the top 10 now. He doesn't seem to really care where he wants to be. He wants to be up towards the front. Freilich is now 14th. Schmidt is back in 15th. That's about where both of them started. And don't forget, Joe started up in 2nd. He had to get some repair. He definitely didn't have a rear bumper. He does now. They put it back on, but he's back up to 9th. So already a big shuffling, not to mention you just look at the top 3. Sims started 20th. Pervolarkis started 35th. And Josh Chin started 22nd, and they are in the top 3 now. So, we're just going to have to see how this all works out, but it doesn't look like any one strategy is ahead of anybody else's right now.
Absolutely. The shuffle has definitely happened here at Talladega. Lap number 16 has been completed here as the field is now slowly making its way down the back straightaway as everyone who was on pit road this time rushes to get caught up with the field so we can get going green this time. Jackson Sims leading this pacing field right now. And you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Elliot, this season's winner at Daytona, he knows how to position himself opportunistically to finish well in these super speedway races in this league. He's done it before. Let's see if he can do it again tonight.
Yeah, he's also one of the only people in here with probably multiple spotters and crew chiefs, so we'll have to see if all that yelling in his ear can help him or if it's a distraction, but he'll start it out from the lead on this run, knocking down 16 laps of 76, coming to 60 to go here, so we'll have to see how much how much that benefits him with all those people in his ear. But Pervalarkis to his outside, Joshua Chin behind him, Ben Billard behind them. Pace cars down as they come to take the green flag one more time.
Hard left onto pit lane does the pace car here. Jackson Sims will slowly lead this field through the tri-oval once again down to the restart zone. Back of the field still kind of shuffling and sorting out their starting positions. Green flag's back up in the air though for the front of the field, and Sims is going to have the 93 of Joshua Chim right to his back bumper with a car length advantage as they head off into turn number 1.
And I like that. Chin is really, really good at this stuff, and he knows how to push, how to draft, how to make sure that, you know, you're getting the most out of that car. So you can already see the gap that they've got compared to what it was last time as you go on board and see just how good he is at staying dead center. He's been as low as dead last in this race, and now he's sitting here pushing for the lead. Pervalarkis trying to make some ground, though, on that top lane with Ben Billard. Ben Billard's been up there all day. He wants to take it 3 wide up the middle. He's got AJ Green behind him as they try to make some hay towards Jackson Sims, and we're still nearly trying to wreck right there, Pervalarkis and others.
Pervalarkis got hung out to dry there, and he's going to drop back to round about the 12th spot, maybe even farther back if he can't find a spot in line. Meanwhile, back up at the front, Jackson Sims continues to lead with Joshua Chin there right on his back bumper. He has not left the rear bumper of that 6 car since the drop of the green flag. Joshua Chin really putting on a show of how to push the leader out and around here at Talladega. As now here comes the run from the top side, the 66 car of Ben Billard with the 48 of AJ Green there on the outside. And now Sims gets shuffled out to the inside. Joshua Chin looks low, and now Sims is going backwards in a hurry.
Yeah, bad move from Sims to try to go up to the top there. That top lane just had such a run. Armstrong now trying to play lanes and make sure he doesn't go backwards. Chin trying to get to the outside of him. Armstrong was trying to make a move, and that tandem in front of them actually took off. You can see the distance that it broke over them as they're 3 wide back there for about 10th. Quick note, Pervalarkis was about 2nd or 3rd last time by, and then the recent time he went past, he was 16th. That's how quickly it changes. Sims goes from the lead all the way back to, it looks like, about also 13th. So you can see just how much it changes. But that tandem right now, AJ Green and Ben Billard working. They're about a half second out on the field.
Died 2011, born again 2025. Welcome back, tandem racing here at the Talladega Superspeedway. Now that tandem of Ben Billard and AJ Green breaks up, and here comes the pack in a mad rush there with Joe Armstrong leading Joshua Chin there on the outside. That's 2 drivers who know how to get it done in this league, no matter the track. Can they get up to get this run around the outside of Ben Billard? I don't think they're going to do it this time here, as the 66 car is going to hold it down to that yellow line there through this tri-oval. Mark him as the leader when they come through the tri-oval this time.
Mark that 3rd lane, though. Philip Kraus, Braden Movick, Kendall Carpenter, and others trying to make that work as big moves up towards the front. I think that's Joe Armstrong that just went up through the middle between AJ Green and Ben Billard, and it's not going to work out. Middle lane immediately starts to falter, but here comes that top lane. Ben Billard now up top with Joshua Chin and Philip Kraus and others trying to make that top lane work, and it's coming with a hurry.
Ben Billard tried to throw a massive block on Joe Armstrong. Armstrong had nothing of it, went right through the middle of them on the front straightaway, and that resulted in that shuffle that now places us where you see them right now. AJ Green in that 48 Jimmy Johnson car leading this field, as here comes a huge run from the outside there, led by Joshua Chin, and I believe that's the 19 of Philip Kraus has made his way to the front here. Mark, AJ Green that leader that time, but it was close.
And in most cases, that top lane wouldn't run the wall like that through the tri-oval, but Josh Chin and Philip Kraus stayed dedicated to it, and it worked. Now here comes the run from the middle lane as they all file down the backstretch. Chin and Kraus get a little bit separated, but it's Joe Armstrong taking a big push from the guy that he just got thrown a block on with, already mixed it up, but it's Ben Billard pushing him now out to the lead, and I believe that's Caden Reif that's followed them through there. We haven't talked about him all day, but he's now up to 3rd.
Middle lane supremacy on the back half of this lap here is now Joe Armstrong and Ben Billard elect to duck to the outside lane. They saw the success that Joshua Chin and Philip Kraus had there on the top side. They want some of it, trying to block that advance now as they will try and take this whole field up there to the top side and wrap that mile high line, as we affectionately call it, while the 0-2 of Gavin Austin and Jackson Sims trying to make hay down there I say the bottom, now it's the middle. The whole field's moved up, Elliott, towards that outside wall.
Yeah, I'm really kind of shocked what we've got right now. Yeah, it's very interesting. Everyone's kind of on the top. Sims is still trying to push over there on the bottom, but AJ Green, who is so fast with Bo Perry, they lost so much ground, but here they come, big run back. It's almost like you kind of come and go. Kendall Carpenter now up the middle all by himself, but interesting to see the top lane start to work its way in. From what I understood, you would basically just run 3x3 here, but this car has produced a lot of different kind of looks to it, and with the side draft and everything, the middle lane kind of comes and goes, almost out of the next gen, if I do say so. But we'll have to see how these lines start to reform and everything. As Sims now going to look back towards the middle and leave, I believe that's Gavin Austin down on the bottom.
Just as soon as it dissipated, the middle lane has reappeared once again, led by that chrome number 6 of Jackson Sims, getting a big push from Braden Movick there, as they're going to try and get all the way up to Joe Armstrong here, who stays in the middle. Now will come down to block the advances of Sims and Movick there. And once again, Elliott, we are back to a 3-wide scramble now. We'd start to get strung out there, but we've accordion back together now. But Joe Armstrong continues to hold court on this field.
Yeah, Braden Movick seems to be a good pusher. It just seems like that tandem, unlike what Green and I don't know who it was that pushed out earlier, I think it was Ben Billard, unlike what they were able to do, it doesn't look like anyone can really tandem well enough to just jump out to a distance or like use it. It seems like after you tandem for a little bit that both cars just tend to lose a bunch of pace, where it's almost like bump drafting is what you want to do and not really push drafting. But as I say that, I mean, the top lane is continuing to do it and make it work. So it might just be lane related too, as these guys are now just shuffling all over the place. It doesn't look like anything works better than anything else. As now Movick trying to give a shot. That is Ben Billard trying to go back to the lead under Armstrong. But here comes the top with, I think that's Kraus and Joshua Chin once again trying to make that top lane work.
Steven Gibson has now made his way into the top 5 as well in that 21 base paint. They're second in line on the outside. So the dynamic duo of Joe Armstrong and Ben Billard got broken up on that last lap when Billard went down to the bottom. Now he's hooked back up with Braden Movick, who, you said it, Elliott, a great pusher there. I think the bottom 3, or the first 3 there on that bottom lane of Billard, Movick, and Sims can prove to be a strong trio, but that the power on the top side, look at it, as the 22 and the 21 just power around everybody. It seems like the momentum is really with that top side.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It seems to differ lap to lap. I mean, sometimes that middle lane will come on really strong. Sometimes the top lane goes Movick to the apron for whatever reason. Maybe he's overheating. Maybe he doesn't want to be there anymore, but he's going to drop back and use this opportunity to do so, and that is going to absolutely kill the bottom lane. But you can just see how making a small move changes completely for these guys, where Joe Armstrong's still up in the lead, but all of a sudden here comes Kendall Carpenter on the bottom, and we'll see how much of, look at the run that he has to get there, and here comes Gavin Austin back on the bottom.
The 20 and the 02 going to the front here, and now that run starts to stall out, but here comes help in the form of the 66 of Ben Billard now. Joe Armstrong ducks down. Ooh, Steven Gibson's up in the wall. He's going to go backwards, still up in the wall, can't get it off of it.
He blew up.
Wow. A blown engine from Steven Gibson, who was showing so much promise and pace early on in the going here, and that about answers your question, Elliott. These cars do, in fact, overheat.
Yeah, and they'll blow up quickly, evidently, because Gibson was only pushing him for maybe a lap, but that has got everybody in a complete flurry here, as now we've got Joshua Chin trying to make his way back up through the middle. It looks like these guys can take a run really far, but they can only go so far until they kind of stall out. You can see Sims already kind of, or Chin, sorry, already kind of stalling out, but he's got Kraus dedicated to him, trying to give him a push, but man, that top trio up on that high lane can just drive away, even with the tandem going on the bottom.
Yeah, the ebb and flow of this pack is almost that of a lava lamp. You just comers and goers up on the bottom, up on the top. They'll go down to the bottom, go backwards, come back up to the top, then go forwards, and vice versa. It has been a wild race thus far. 28 laps down in this one. And Joe Armstrong continues to lead now, as now this bottom pairing of Philip Kraus and Joshua Chin trying to make it work on the bottom, but it's just the two of them. Meanwhile, the top 2 lanes have 5 cars apiece, and they're going to hold the power here as Braden Movick gets a huge run with a push from Ben Billard down the backside. They're going to be side by side when they head off into 3.
Movick going to go down all the way to the bottom, and now Billard going to go in through the middle, and that's going to hang out Movick and put Armstrong nearly in the wall. I don't think Armstrong was quite ready for Billard to do all that. Armstrong was going to come down and side draft, so now these guys all tied up once again. But yeah, to your point, I think this really lends to kind of, it puts it in the driver's hands. You can make moves. It just kind of depends. If you pull out, you are going to parachute back and kind of be like a canopy and lose that speed. So it does kind of feel very Gen 6 or next gen-ish, but at the same time, it seems like if you have the right partner with you that can make those moves with you, you can definitely go places. Although now Josh Chin, Philip Kraus drop to the back, and that bottom lane just suffers coming up off the corner down this backstretch.
Yeah, I like what you said there, Elliot. There's plenty of these cars. I was afraid of what was going to happen with this car, was that these drivers were going to be just pushing so hard that it was going to be like lockstep, like how the old ARCA car was, where you would get 3 lanes of 3 that just couldn't gain an advantage over one another, and you just simply didn't have the room to go anywhere. But in this one, you get the runs to push out there, and then you've got the space to make a move. And so that's what's led to all this ebb and flow of what we've seen in this pack. I mean, Ben Billard's been up and out up into the lead and back out at least a half dozen times here in the last handful of laps. As now the 22, I believe that's Joe Armstrong, with Braden Movick at his rear bumper, back to the lead now and covers the spot up on the top side.
I was going to say, it's just so random, because then Movick and Armstrong get a massive run out of there, and Armstrong goes to the lead, but now Movick pulling forward, the top lane's abandoned, and now it's going backwards. It's very, very random, and it just doesn't look like anybody really knows which lane's going to go, so they just have to make the choice at the right time, and it looks like when you make that good choice, you go very far forward, and when you don't make the right choice, you are pretty much at the rear of the field. And I know that sounds, pretty self-explanatory, pretty stupid, but at the same time, it's so hard to know when to make those runs. You can see Sims, and I believe that's Austin Green down on the inside again, or Gavin Austin, sorry, trying this again, but you'll see they're just going to stall out, and that's what's been happening. They'll get a massive run, they'll gain 2 or 3 spots, and then they'll stall out like Kendall Carpenter is towards the back here, going around Mo Perry, and you just don't go anywhere.
Well, I'll tell you, we've just ticked off 30 laps. This time by is going to be 31 laps completed. If I'm going to follow anybody around this racetrack, it's either going to be the 66 of Ben Billard or the 42 of Braden Movick. Those two have not left the top 5. They've left the lead just due to the nature of this racing, but they have not left the top 5 for the last 5 to 10 laps. And I think they've lost the least positions on aggregate out of anybody. So if I'm going to be following anybody, those two seem to have their hands around this new car, new drafting model the most, as now here comes Joe Armstrong with help from Jackson Sims there on the bottom side.
I was going to say, I definitely don't disagree with Movick, but I think someone like Joe Armstrong is your second tier. He has been making some crazy moves left and right, and he's been making it work. He knows exactly when to pull out. He knows that the guy behind him, what he's learning is he knows the guy behind him doesn't need a run. He's the one that needs the run. Then he side drafts, and that pulls the guy behind him up to him. Although Sims just played that perfect and made a great move, but he's got minimal help. Here comes the 22 of Wesley Parker to the outside of Green. They're 3 wide again. Parker to the lead. Mo Perry to the bottom. They're all over the place. It just depends where they want to go. Sorry, I got Parker and Armstrong mixed up. That's Joe to the front. Parker was the one that initially went to the front and got handed out by Sims. But now Joe Armstrong back to the front.
Yeah, 2 white cars with black 22s on, not helping our case up here in the booth, but we will continue to try and make do with what we can here. As now Joe Armstrong's going backwards and Jackson Sims is coming forward. Their big power move to the inside of Armstrong there now in the middle, but he's got no help. And here comes help in the form of Wesley Parker now, who draws up to the back bumper. But they've lost 5 to 6 spots there to that bottom lane now as Mo Perry has come to the front of this field, and he will lead lap number 33 at the line.
And we're inching ever closer to green flag pit stops as this is kind of slowed down a bit. I'm going to walk you back through Isaac Johnson, Tristan Baker, Corey Rexford, Stephen Gibson, and Ethan Corder are all out of the race. I'm sorry, Ethan Porter's not out. He's 4 laps down at the tail end of this pack. Curtis Kelly and Chris Lilly have lost the draft. They were just at the end of your screen there. They're about to go a lap down. Frank DeAngelis and Griffin Jones have also lost this pack. And there's a second pack from about 21st back to 28th, if you want to show that right quick. And that is showing us that these guys in a single file line cannot keep up with the main group. They're over 7 seconds back and have lost complete touch, but that's being led by Noah Carmichael and has guys like John Daniels, Nolan Sanford, David Cabrera, and others all in that little pack trying to basically avoid the storm that this front pack is that we've been showing non-stop this whole time.
But it's been a big, beautiful storm, Elliot, as they continue to just flow from top side to bottom side, back to the middle, up front, back out. It's been beautiful to watch here in the OSRL Premier Series. Race 14, 2 races to go in the season, and here comes Joe Armstrong once again with help from, I believe that's the O2 of Gavin Austin there to his outside, with Joshua Chin there now on the outside, who peaks up to the top side. Looks like he's going to have the run here with Philip Kraus. They've got help. I believe they're teammates, so that might explain why they've stuck together so well. But they're going to be 3 wide at the line. Armstrong leads it this time. As we are now catching lap traffic here in the form of Chris Lilly and Curtis Kelly. What will the field do when they come up on them? It looks like everybody's going to be able to go down to the bottom of the racetrack, and the field will scamper on by on the top side, so they will handle that in the most peaceful fashion that you can. But now that the danger is past, Mo Perry is the first one to dive down to the bottom of the racetrack. Now the rest of the field follows suit to try and cover the spot, and Joe Armstrong will continue his stranglehold on this lead for the last 3 or so laps.
Created a massive stack up. Kendall Carpenter got on the back of Mo Perry. That was almost an accident. Josh Shing gets blocked by, I believe, Wesley Parker, or maybe that's Joe Armstrong. Can never really tell. It looks like Parker, though, all the way on the top lane. As Joe Armstrong continues to lead. Really quick update is Schmidt and Freilich are actually involved in this second pack. Or no, Freilich's in the main pack, Schmidt's in the main pack. Sorry, I thought they were in the back pack, but they've been towards the tail end of this main pack this whole time, while Armstrong is up here trying to lead laps and potentially get that bonus for the most laps led, as now Chin goes to the inside of Joe Armstrong.
Armstrong blinked out a little bit there, and Elliot, as we're well familiar, that can cause a lot of momentum stalling now as Armstrong, nobody's looking to help that white 22 car. He is going backwards in a hurry. Now he's found that chrome number 6 of Jackson Sims, but that has left the lead now to Josh Chin and Philip Kraus now on the bottom of the racetrack. They've got this field lined up, pack of 5 cars on the bottom, all in tow.
Yeah, and it just kind of seems like wherever Chin and Kraus end up is where the rest of the field will follow. For a while, they were the ones that started that outside lane. Now they're running them back towards the bottom. I wonder if maybe they're potentially setting up for a pit stop here, although they're not quite in the window. They've probably got another 5 laps before they can make that work. So we'll have to see exactly how that all sorts out, as Movic now moving to the inside, but it's kind of killed our top lane. We don't really have a lot of guys running, but I'm sure they'll put it right back to it. Cole Freilich now in that Michael Waltrip 15. You see him moving up there. He's finally made his way up inside the top 10. I think he's like, it's calmed down enough. I'm going to try to get up here and race a bit.
I don't want to say that I told you so, but I feel like I told you so earlier on when I said that it would be wise to just sit back and let this pack calm down here. And Cole Freilich has done just that, as now he peaks inside the top 10 for the first time tonight, hot on the heels of fellow championship rival Kendall Carpenter there. They will now slot in the 5th and 6th spots there on the bottom. And Elliot, I think a point to note with this new car compared to other cars on the iRacing service when it comes to these super speedway races, on lap number 37 was when that mad scramble was, when they passed those 2 lap cars and the field kind of got strung out there. From my vantage point, these guys really haven't packed back up nose to tail. There's a lot of gap and space in between these cars. And like I said earlier, I think that's leading to a lot of the moves that we're being able to see thrown and blocked in this race. So now I just think it's very interesting that they haven't gotten back nose to tail right up on each other, pushing each other like we saw towards the beginning of this race.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of working towards that, but I also wonder if these guys are just prepping for pit stops because, again, we're going to be in that window. We're now on lap 40. Technically, in the next 2 or 3 laps, I assume they can make it is, I believe that's Joe Armstrong to the outside. I think the only difference between Joe Armstrong and Wesley Parker at this point is Armstrong does not have a logo and Parker has a hood logo. So that's kind of what I'm using, FYI. But Armstrong made another move just to get around the 24 there. And that's AJ Hyder. We haven't talked about him literally at all, but he's found his way up inside the top 5 from he started up there and kind of fell towards the back and came back up. But you can see the top lane's trying to get going again, but I wonder if these guys are trying to set up for potential pit stops here soon.
I'll tell you, another driver who's dropped backwards is Ben Billard, who is now clinging on to the absolute strands of this lead pack. Now he has dropped back to around about the 19th spot, tail end of this lead pack, being pushed now by, I believe that's Ethan Corder, who has made his presence back known here. Still 4 laps down, but giving it all he's got. Go Ethan for the effort there. But Ben Billard has dropped to the back of this pack right after I complimented on how well he was doing to stay towards the front. So maybe he's trying to feel out how the car does in draft back towards the back of the pack in the event that something happens on this exchange of pit stops that are impending.
Top lane not really going anywhere. Joe Armstrong jumped up there. It looks like he's going to get a good push from Kendall Carpenter, but even Cole Fralick decided to abandon that and jump in behind Sims, as now Mo Perry's going to get up here. But yeah, I think that Josh Chin and Philip Kraus are holding just such a very good line to the bottom and really good pushes that it's kind of disbanded the top lane and made it really hard for them to make up any ground. And we'll have to see how this works out over the next few laps. But right now, you got to wonder if things are just starting to calm down bit after bit as we go on board with Philip Kraus.
Well, that tag team of Kraus and Chin up there towards the front of the pack, we talked about it earlier, how well they work together to get up there. Now that they're up there, they will not relinquish this lead now, as Armstrong and Carpenter are trying to work together. Kendall Carpenter has been all over the back bumper of that other white 22 car, as they now tuck back in line to try and preserve that draft. Now the field will accordion back up down the back straightaway here. It's funny to watch from a side view. Everybody slings back up towards the pack. Then they get in this in the turn, and they'll expand back out, pretty much like an accordion here as they go through the turns. But lockstep for now as Josh Chin continues to dominate this inside lane in this front pack of 19 cars.
You know, it's a quick note. We haven't talked about it at all, but there's only 2 manufacturers, and the 3 Fords are absolutely lights out right now, and the Chevys can't really do anything about it. And you gotta wonder if that's just maybe something to do with what's going on, or if there's actually any type of advantage or disadvantage between the car bodies. But right now, Chin and Kraus have this field under a stranglehold, and everything that Armstrong's trying to do hasn't really worked. You can see he's backing up now to try to mount a run, and we'll see if he jumps out again on Parker. But maybe these guys, again, I hate to just keep saying it over and over, they might just be calming down for this inevitable pit stop. But yeah, we're pretty much all single filed out here. And just to update you on that pack from Noah Carmichael on back, they've lost 10 seconds since all this has gone on, and they are now 18.5 seconds off of Joshua Chin's lead. So this main pack is about 19 cars deep, and it'll stay like that for a good while.
Yeah, at this point, they're just really hoping for a caution to bunch this field back up and get that's really their only hope, to get back up towards the leaders here, as we continue to wait on pit stops they're coming eventually. I feel like George R.R. Martin when we're talking about Game of Thrones. The dragons are coming. Pit stops are coming. We just don't know really when. We didn't really do our research on how much the fuel runs are.
Well, it's coming now.
Oh, we're starting to get call-outs now.
I've seen the chatter.
There you go.
And here they all come.
Yep, this front, about half of this pack will now split off and hit pit road this time. Going to have to see how hard it is to get this woed up here. Whoa, Wesley Parker there has some major lockup trying to get slowed down into the pit lane here. Gonna have to see if that was a penalty at all for him. One to watch, certainly, as the service will now be completed for this batch of drivers, to include Philip Kraus and Joshua Chin, your leaders there, as it looks like Kraus is going to beat Chin out of the pit lane here with Jackson Sims in tow.
Really
and then they're going to be 3 wide back behind him.
Is Joe Armstrong, Cole Freilich, and William Schmidt all stayed out. Slightly ironic. They are still not pitting this time by, but those are your 3 guys battling for a championship within 33 points of each other. Chin, of course, comes in here 4th in points, but 106 out, so it's ultimately over for him. He'd need Schmidt to finish dead last in both of these races, and he'd need to win both of them to even have a remote possibility. So, yeah, interesting call for these 3 to just stay what they're doing. I gotta wonder if Schmidt is literally just doing I'm going to do exactly what Freilich and Joe do and try to stay as close to them in points as possible, because a 27-plus point gap going into the final race is borderline a championship. So I assume that's his strategy. I'm interested to see what Armstrong and Freilich are really trying to pull here, though.
We know what I'm really interested to see is this tandem of Philip Kraus and Joshua Chin have pulled away from this pack of 5 who are all good cars in their own right. Jackson Sims, Braden Movick, Wesley Parker, those 3 guys up at the front of that 5-car pod have been up front all night long, but the 19 and the 93 have absolutely left this group of 5 in the dust. And we're going to have to see if they can either, if this pack of 5 can run down, or if the tandem is truly back over the next couple laps here, as now the lead pack, I believe, is hit pit road this time. Nope, there they are on the back straightaway. As we do have another group of cars. I believe that was the second pack there who is now hit pit road there on the bottom of the...
Well, I think this lead pack actually lucked out really well, because they caught lap cars at about the perfect time to make this work, as they all hit pit road now. But you can see Chin and Kraus already had to... I'm not sure if Armstrong made that work, but Chin and Kraus already had to disband their tandem, and yeah, it gained them a second, but they immediately lost all of their ground to Sims in this little pack here with Wesley Parker, and they're already at the back of this pack behind Caden Rife. So it'll be really interesting how all these guys come off pit road, and we'll have to see if Armstrong ends up penalized and if Carpenter and Freilich end up coming out ahead of him. But that tandem didn't really seem to work, and I believe that this pack that stayed out is actually going to have a benefit here.
And we're getting reports now that Mo Perry in the 41 car, too fast entering, busted for speeding. And we saw some cars having trouble getting into pit road, and unfortunately, that's going to be a huge detriment to his night, as we've got just under 26 laps to go, or just over 26 laps to go in this event here, Elliot. And another thing that I want to mention is that when these cars eventually do, it looks like, because they're going to group back up with the group of championship leaders that we've got, but we are missing a good seven cars from this original group before pit stops. Ben Billard, Chris Pervolarkis, they're all, I mean, they've lost this pack. Heavy names that we've had up front all night long, and they've just dropped like flies off of the back of this one in pit cycle.
Yeah, I mean, there were 19 cars in this group, and it looks like now post pit stops, Cade McKee and Aston Rice have not pitted yet, as far as I can tell. But it looks like we're going to be down to about 15. So it looks like, yeah, a solid 4 or 5 guys have dropped off of this group. And that will make it interesting. Obviously, less chance for runs and stuff to happen, as Wesley Parker, big run to the top now, as he's going to get to the outside of Schmidt and catch this pack. But that pack that stayed out ran an extra lap with Armstrong and others. Who got a yellow.
On the speedway, Chris Pervolarkis up and stopped in turn 3, has already pulled it to pit road. But to me, that indicates heavy contact for the 49 car of Chris Pervolarkis. We will try and get you a replay as soon as we can. Right after pit stops, Elliot, too.
Yeah, and this kind of throws a little bit of a wrench. Cade McKee and Aston Rice right there on the screen had stayed out. I'm not sure how close they are on fuel. They're going to have to probably pit regardless. The question is, does anybody else follow them in? And I got to assume no. But I'm really interested because Brandon Hawken got up to the front as we're going to take a look back at this Pervalarkis incident. There's Quarter, again, 4 laps down. I don't know what happened, but Pervalarkis looks like he just stopped.
Either a brake check or a bump gone really, really wrong there between Pervalarkis and Quarter, who was 4 laps down at the time. And that has brought out the caution for the, what is this, the second caution now? Sorry, third caution of the race. Pervalarkis.
Yeah,
looks like he got it saved.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was some sort of mechanical issue or something with the 49. Nothing Quarter could do there. He just, nowhere to go. Just going to commit to pushing him, and 49 just lost a ton of speed right there. So, some type of weird issue. But regardless, we are now under caution, and we're going to sort this field out. But yeah, Cade McKee and Aston Rice have now moved up to first and second, and I'm not really sure. Joe Armstrong's now passing the whole field. Interesting scenarios happening.
The field hasn't even caught the pace car yet. Pace car is just about to get to pit road, and Armstrong's going to be the first one to get there, whether or not he's supposed to be the leader or not.
I think Cade's out of fuel. I think Cade and Aston were staying out with extra fuel, and now Aston is going to push Cade down pit road because Cade is out of fuel.
Wow. Yep, that 26 car is slow on pit lane here. Will limp that car down to its pit stall.
I don't know where they were running previously, but they both started outside the top 15. So for either of them to be inside the top 5 when that yellow comes out, that's awesome that they were able to make the fuel go that long. They can get, some tires now and kind of reset and at least be back up in this main pack. The guys that really helps, though, are guys like Nolan Sanford, David Cabrera, and guys that were in that second pack that were going to really be screwed by that. Ben Billard had lost a draft, and then you've also got guys that were in that second pack that went a lap down because they either sped on pit road or lost a draft in general. Guys like Noah Carmichael, AJ Hyder, Curtis Kelly is 2 laps down, Chris Lilly. So this all just kind of stacks everything back up, but especially guys like the 24 of AJ Hyder, the 41 of Mo Perry, we documented he was too fast on pit road. He looks like he's going to get his lap back here. So we will see how this stacks back up.
It's a huge reset for the entire field. As by my count, those cars that stayed out, that was the 3 of Aston Rice. Aston Rice had went 37 laps on fuel by my calculator here. So that's the max that they can go. So everybody now will be able to make it to the checkered here. So fuel is no longer a concern, but everybody except for Joe Armstrong and Frank DeAngelis decided that tires were something that they definitely wanted here as we get down towards the latter stages of this race.
I mean, it makes sense. You might as well come in and get your tires. So probably just not pit for the rest of this one. I don't think the tires made a big difference, but for guys like Josh Chin and others that decided to pit here and get them, it makes sense because you kind of missed the strategy before. They tried to do something different, and it just didn't really work in their case. So they can come down, get the tires, reset, and get back going. I'm interested in why Aston came back down pit road. He had already reset to 8th. Maybe he just doesn't want to be where he is. But yeah, this will restack the field. We'll see what happens. But Joe Armstrong, Frank DeAngelis, Gavin Austin, Wesley Parker, Kendall Carpenter, William Schmidt, Jackson Sims, Brandon Hawken, Cole Freilich, and Caden Rife will be your top 10.
All drivers who are either championship leaders or drivers who have shown amazing pace and ability to stay up towards the front of this field throughout this race in particular. So this top 10 star-studded in terms of Talladega today. I think I'm really hoping we're about to see the mid part of this race come back to us instead of the first part of it where it was just a bloodbath. But this last 23, 22 laps is going to be interesting, Elliot.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, all out from here. There's not really a reason to save or anything. They don't need to worry about fuel. They don't need to worry about tires. They don't need to worry about anything. It's all just going to be track position and trying to maintain the lead. So I think this is where, everything's going to ramp up. You're going to see guys like Joe Armstrong drive a lot harder than what they have been. And I'd be interested to see exactly what the other championship competitors do here with William Schmidt and Cole Freilich. Do they try to sit here and be aggressive and try to get that good finish, or do they drop to the back and maybe think that a late wreck is going to happen, that they'll be able to gain some more spots later? But William Schmidt is already up here in the top 10. He's up in 6th. Freilich's up in 9th. And then, of course, Joe Armstrong kind of keeping both of them on their toes leading this race right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how these three kind of settle this out. Armstrong's laying way back. Not sure if you just had the car turned off or was typing or what, but pace car's off and we'll get him going here.
I'll tell you another couple drivers that are going to be ones to watch there. That purple car of Joshua Chin there, about 7 cars up on the outside. He's going to be making his way to the front. A lot of speed shown out of that 93 car. Look for him to come towards the front here in the final 22 laps at Talladega. Green flag is back out. Joe Armstrong's got a great jump with the 0-2 of Gavin Austin down on the bottom. Back behind him there, and Cole Freilich peeking out back behind, already trying to make moves. Jackson Sims covers the spot. They're going to be 2 by 2 as they head off into turn number 1.
Yeah, not a very good start for the top. Not a very good start for Sims. And Josh Chin, I don't know if he was back behind that 88 car or what happened, but Chin is going to drop nearly to 20th here. He had an abysmal start, and he'll have to try to reroute his way back up towards the front. Right now, it's going to be all about Joe Armstrong with Gavin Austin pushing him, though, just like it was from the beginning of this race.
Joe Armstrong, Gavin Austin know how to control this one, and they are doing just that now. Sole possession of this top spot, but here comes that top side here with Frank DeAngelis there with Wesley Parker in the other 22 car. Around the outside, Joe Armstrong hung out to dry in the sucker hole down in the middle. He's going to lose a ton of spots and in a hurry move Gavin Austin towards the front of this field.
And DeAngelis kind of went to the middle and got hung out now, and now both of the top lanes are just kind of strung out. The bottom is the one that prevails. Armstrong kind of wanted to throw a block. Now Sims gets shuffled out to the top, and he's going to go backwards. But it just looks like right at this second, you don't want to get shuffled out. You want to stay in line unless you've got someone you know will come with you behind you. But you can see Armstrong didn't really know where to go, and then he didn't want to throw a late block. And now Sims and Rife and, oh boy, Wesley Parker
Everyone's involved. Yes, Wesley Parker got turned around. Caution is out.
William Schmidt is in it bad.
Oh my goodness, that's...
Lovick?
4? I want to say 4 of the top 5 in points involved in this one. Heavy
Lovick's
damage
involved.
to William Schmidt's car.
Armstrong is somehow involved.
I saw Armstrong get turned there down, coming out of turn number 4. He's involved. Car doesn't look too worse for wear. I'd be interested to check the right side.
That's right.
Huge wreck here.
I didn't notice that Armstrong had dropped back there already. Schmidt is basically killed, and that's really bad for him with Freilich and Armstrong. Armstrong definitely has some rear end damage. Freilich obviously makes out the best. He's 3rd and has literally no damage. So we're going to have to see how bad off Schmidt is, but it looks like Armstrong is not crab walking and able to drive away. And it just looks like a bad bump from, I believe, the 099 into Wesley Parker in the standard 22. That was Hawken trying to hook on, and yeah, you can see it's just bumper grab down to Sims. Sims is okay, but everyone behind him, I believe that was trying to go back and see. I think that was Frank DeAngelis. That was the first car that got turned down into the field right behind Sims, and it just all went downhill from there.
You know, that push that Hawken gave to Wesley Parker, I did it again, looks kind of reminiscent of another wreck that happened earlier on in this race. I can't remember the 2 cars, but you see that divot there on the back bumper, the 2 dimples on either side. It's not a straight, the back bumper of these cars isn't a straight across line. There are divots, dimples, if you will, in the back bumper that kind of make it wavy. And I feel like the nose of the car can get hooked in that back bumper, and if you move up or down too suddenly, it's going to turn that car in front of you. And I think we just saw it. That's what we just saw happen right there between Parker and Hawken.
And Schmidt was so close to being able to get through that. You can see right here, there he is in the 79, but all of a sudden, Pervalarkis, who just was involved in that last yellow, and the 69 of DeAngelis just right up in front of him, and Schmidt nowhere to go. And it really doesn't look bad, but then the damage model pops in, and then he gets absolutely obliterated in the rear of the driver's side of that car. And I just have no idea where that damage is now. But wow, that's insanely frustrating for, that's what I said. It depends on what these guys want to do. Freilich was super aggressive, got his way up to third and put himself in a really good spot. And then Armstrong and Schmidt were both in the middle of it. And unfortunately, it's going to take your points leader and send him to pit road to investigate damage now.
Well, if you're William Schmidt, now you go into damage control mode as hard as you can. There's only 19 laps to go. As of right now, when we go back green, it'll probably be 17 laps to go. With the amount of damage that he's got, I would hazard to say that he's probably not going to go a lap down in this one. And if he catches a couple more cautions, which if I'm being honest, I'm kind of betting on the way that these pushes have gotten more and more wild, you might be able to salvage something out of this as long as he stays on the lead lap here and not lose too much of that lead heading into the final race.
Yeah, the car's crab walking, but at the same time, there's 25 guys on the lead lap. So if he stays on the lead lap, that's the worst he's going to do. So the worst he can really lose is 30 points total. That's if, Freilich gets up there and wins or Armstrong gets up there and wins. Armstrong is still on pit road, so he's either fully repaired or he's just missing a little bit more damage. His car actually doesn't look that bad. Schmidt's is, he has no nose on it. It's beat up. So, and he's topping out. He's topping out about $160. He's struggling. Armstrong, his car looks fine. He doesn't look like he's struggling for pace at all. He's passing guys on the backstretch, although he's only doing 167, 168. But his car looks like if he can at least stay in the draft, he'll be all right. But Schmidt is going to be in some trouble here. He's going to need another yellow to try to fix this thing up a little bit more.
I'm not betting against it here, as we've seen the pushes get wild, the runs get crazy, and it's only going to get even more so when we get down to it here with what's going to be 17 laps to go when we take the green this time. Gavin Austin is your leader. Kendall Carpenter to his outside, and Cole Freilich, your championship runner-up right now, in prime position to capitalize on William Schmidt's misfortune, rides in that third spot after pretty much a mid-pack night all night, but he slowly crept his way forward, and now when we get down to it, that 15 car shows up once again.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really surprised. Freilich and Carpenter were really good at Daytona. They were just also involved in that last wreck that happened. Philip Kraus is up here as well. I'm really just surprised with Gavin Austin. I'm interested to see what he does, but it looks like, I'd say if you're a bet man, you'd probably have to bet on either that 20, the 15, or the 19. No disrespect to Gavin, but those three have been really fast lately.
Pace car dives onto pit road, hard left-hand turn. Gavin Austin will lead this field slowly through this tri-oval, down to the restart zone. The start-finish line is here 1,000 feet further. Green flag's back up in the air, and Kendall Carpenter is right alongside Gavin Austin there. They're going to drag race right to the line. Cole Freilich's going to be right to the back bumper. No, leaves Gavin Austin out to dry. He will hook up with... Whoa, contact there between the 20 and the 02. They're going to save it. 3 wide. Kendall Carpenter's going to get hung out to dry there. No damage, no caution. We stay green. As here comes the field now. Philip Kraus dives to the outside. He's going to have sole possession of this lead as back goes Gavin Austin. And down the back they go.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that those guys are exactly buddies, but Carpenter's going to lose a ton of spots here. Quick update on the guys worried about William Schmidt, he is way off pace, and he will not catch up with this pack or be able to keep up with the draft, so he'll have to hope that we get a yellow before he ends up going a lap down and really losing ground. But these guys are all over each other, and he might get it. Big blocks being thrown. Sims back up there. I don't know who that was behind him that was trying to make a move. I think that's Trey Patton, as they're all trying to make moves to get to the front. Philip Kraus to the point.
We've got a couple new names up here that we haven't really talked about. That's the 45 car of David T. Cabrera coming through the field now, making some noise late in this race. But don't look now. Here comes the purple 93 car of Joshua Chin wrapping that top side here. He's got a head of steam, going to draw right up to the back bumper of Cade McKee. Big bump there down the back. They're going to be 3 wide with Cole Freilich, who is out front, firing off into turn number 3.
If anything happens, it's going to happen within these next couple of laps. Carpenter all the way at the back of this line. Joshua Chin up top. You've got Freilich in the lead. Now Austin Green back to, or Gavin Austin, I don't know why I keep calling him Austin Green, but Gavin Austin back to the front. He's going to take over the top spot in front of, that's Cade McKee now back up here, as we are 3 by 3 all the way back to about 20th.
Boy, you can tell this whole field is really pushing now. When I was talking about earlier, this field gets into lockstep, 3 wide, all the way back to around about 20th, as Jackson Sims now pushes Gavin Austin out and then ducks to the top side. He wants that run for himself. Gavin Austin's going to jump back to Cabrera's back bumper, and Sims and the 26 of Cade McKee are going to hook up there on the top side. But here comes Cole Freilich back on the bottom side with a push from Philip Kraus. Move that 15 car back out front here as they rocket off of turn number 4.
Like I say, I think Gavin Austin took it a little personal that I said pay attention to the 15 to 19 and the other cars here, because he is just absolutely trying to make sure that he can own every lane. You've also got the 01 down there. That's Trey Patton. He's a new guy up towards the front. And I think we've also got that 663 of Ryan Pandesito. I'm going to pronounce that way wrong. I'm not going to try it again. But the 663 is also up here. Just a mess of new drivers all sitting here after that accident trying to get some extra points. Freilich makes the block on Austin down the backstretch.
And he will block the advances of that top lane now and still hang on to this lead with a death grip now, as I believe that's the 818 of Ethan Corder has made his way back up in here, still 4 laps down, still making some noise there. 5th car on the top side, trying to get back. He's counting on more cautions to try and get back any lap that he can, and I can't really blame him here as they come through the tri-oval this time. Nose to tail up there for the top spot. Freilich and Austin.
And Freilich goes to the bottom. Not really sure if he got shoved wrong. I wasn't quite seeing that, as, oh, they're trying to wreck right near the 48. I believe that's AJ Green. They are wrecking right there. That's Ethan Corder getting turned, and that saves William Schmidt, who was already 22 seconds off this field. He can come in, get some more damage repair. Again, only dropped to 25th, still on the lead lap. I don't know that that's going to give him any free positions, because Ethan was already running all the way back 4 laps down in about 29th, and I don't think he really took anyone with him there, but just looks like a bad bump from, I believe that's Joe Armstrong, and yeah, Joe Armstrong, and actually that's going to do a lot of damage to Sims and Armstrong. Jackson Sims was up there too. Nothing either of those guys could do.
I was going to say, Elliot, that's a quarter off of the bumper of Joe Armstrong. We're going to have to see the damage that did to that 22 car, because he took a heavy lick into the outside wall there. Might hurt the side force on that car if he can come down and not get it repaired at all. But heavy championship implications there for the 3rd place driver in the standings, Joe Armstrong.
And one by one, they're dropping like flies. And you got to think, if you're Cole Freilich, man, if I can come out of here with the top 5, I am in a really good spot to go track down this championship. So we'll have to see how this all unfolds. But right now, Armstrong gets pretty hurt in that one. We know how bad William Schmidt is. We're going to have to see how quickly those guys can repair. And, Armstrong's just sitting here like, man, I just got through that last wreck. I just repaired this thing, and I got this guy 4 laps down, and just all this happens again. But, even admin's discretion here, there's really no fault there. Ethan just kind of drifted up, and Armstrong came down a little bit. There wasn't really enough time for Armstrong to react to where Ethan was going, and they just kind of came together. So we'll restack and get going again as a few guys come down pit road. Carpenter is one of them, but Wesley Parker as well, and Jackson Sims, along with others that were involved in that incident, will hit pit road to just get a little bit of damage checked out, probably get some fuel in it, and get back out there for these last 10 or so laps.
But Joe Armstrong does not. He stays out there and without a bumper there. You can see him back there. I believe that's the 8th or 9th car in line up there on that top side. No bumper. He will soldier on to try and get as many points as he can in this event. Joe Armstrong without a bumper going modified racing at Talladega.
He is, in fact, P9. I don't agree with the strategy, but listen, Kevin Harvick did it in real life, and you got to do what you got to do. So we'll give it to him, and we'll see if he can soldier on. I think for Armstrong, his biggest thing is he's just got to beat. He's got to beat William Schmidt, and with the amount of issues that Schmidt has, that's why I think Armstrong should have just pitted and gotten the damage at least fixed. Because if they wreck again, he has a chance to potentially drive around those guys. But if he's down pace now with that front end damage, he's not really going to get a chance to do anything. But each their own. We'll see what he can do. And there's not really that many laps left. Probably going to agree with about 8 laps to go here, 7 laps to go. So Schmidt's still sitting on pit road, getting that car tended to. While we've still got, I said don't look at Gavin Austin, and he has proven me wrong. He got back up to the lead as that yellow came out. Him and AJ Green are going to take us back to green whenever we get this all sorted out.
I think Gavin Austin did take it personally, Elliot. That boy has not left the top 5 for that entire sequence, that entire green flag run that we just had. I mean, he's on a mission right now. If I'm gonna start making picks, that 02 car is looking pretty good as we get down underneath 10 laps to go when we come to the line this time.
Yeah, I've been impressed. I mean, he hasn't been aggressive. He's been calculated in everything he's done. When he's gotten shuffled out, he's just been smart and made the right moves to get back up to a spot that mattered. And he's taken advantage of the fact that, a lot of these guys have been involved in accidents and a lot of these guys have been shuffled around. You've got guys that we know are fast, like Philip Kraus, guys that we know are aggressive and can make moves, like Cole Freilich, and guys that we know can push really well and utilize the draft really well, like AJ Green, and he consistently is able to stay ahead of all of them. So we'll just have to see how this works out for him over the next less than 10 laps here. But right now, he's been making all the right moves to be in the right spot, and that's what puts him in the lead right now.
Austin will have control of this race there on that inside lane. AJ Green will line up to his outside there in that 48 car. Freilich lines up in 3rd, and then David T. Cabrera still making his presence known in the later stages of this race. Has not gone anywhere since we first mentioned him about 10 laps ago. That bright pink truck is certainly a hard one to miss, and he's making it easy to spot as we get down underneath the final 10 laps of this one. We got some new names, new faces up here. Paul Mikolajicic. I'm gonna butcher that one too. He's up there as well in the 6th spot. Trey Patton in that green and blue 01 car, making his presence known on the sponsor provisional for tonight's race. The 63 of Ryan Pandiccio, or Pandiccio, maybe. He's
Quick
up there.
Update, but that big wreck ended up taking out Braden Movick, Chris Parvalarkis, Derek Shaver, and Frank DeAngelis. They are all out of the race, 30th or worse. And William Schmidt is back on track, 23rd, still heavily damaged, but right near Kendall Carpenter and Jackson Sims now.
Something to keep an eye on now is that 22 car of Joe Armstrong. They're 5th on the bottom, no bumper. What will happen when we take the green here? Gavin Austin's got the field in his control through the restart zone. He's away, shot out of a cannon. And we are green. They're still going to be side by side, though, with both cars having equal help from that second row as we head off into turn number 1. Door to door.
Oh, Joe Armstrong with no bumper was getting run over by Josh Chin. Fortunately, they all make it through. No wreck, but Joe Armstrong definitely suffering. Now he's going to sit there and side draft Josh Chin. Big mess back there with Mo Perry and Josh Chin, but the leaders still side by side. Top lane, AJ Green getting a run down the backstretch.
Now you want to talk about a run. Here comes the back half of this pack with Joe Armstrong holding him up. That's going to open up the opportunity for a big run to come from the likes of the 63 of Ryan Pandiccio there on that bottom side, or looks like Wesley Parker making a move to the top side there. They're going to draw right back up to this group of top 6 or so, fall right in line. Nope, 3 wide here as Gavin Austin's going to lead that lap by a nose hair over AJ Green.
Wesley Parker and Josh Chin were about 20th and 21st taking that restart. They're both inside the top 10 and coming for more. Here comes that 22 on that top lane, 4th car in line as the bottom line falters really bad. AJ Green to the point being pushed by David Cabrera. Josh Chin down the middle now.
Huge stack up there for that bottom lane. It was like watching an inchworm move backwards compared to the top side there. And now it's caused chaos up here at the front as Philip Kraus and Josh Chin have made their presence known once again towards the front of this field as David T. Cabrera and AJ Green try and hold him up. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. The help is there on that top side, or I say the middle lane there, because Wesley Parker is hung out to dry on the 3rd lane.
And they just put Josh Chin and Philip Kraus back together, coming towards 6-7 laps to go here. We're on lap 70, working our way into turns 1 and 2. And Josh Chin is pushing Philip Kraus out into no man's land. AJ Green and David Cabrera hooking up to try to go get him.
Dancing partners here. I swear the tandem's back, and I'm so here for it. 2 cars. It's a 2-car duel versus a 2-car duel there. Philip Kraus and Joshua Chin there on the bottom side. Cabrera and AJ Green there on the outside as now the rest of the pack's going to catch back up here. They're going to be side by side off of turn number 4. Coming down through the tri-oval this time. Give the edge slightly to Philip Kraus as they get to the line here. Yes. Nope.
6 laps to go. Cole Fralick to the top, gets him pushed to AJ Green. They've got the 45 stuck in the middle. That's Cabrera going backwards. Chin and Kraus separated on the bottom, not making anything work. Sims is back up here, and Gavin Austin now working the top lane, back in charge.
Yep, the top lane's really ripping right now, and Jackson Sims right there in the middle of it. We saw the damage that he took, a heavy hit to the right side of that car. Doesn't seem to bother him, though. He's worked his way back up into the 3rd position now, and now he's going to elevator move all the way down to the bottom to cover that spot. I really like that move. Get in front of that dynamic duo of Philip Kraus and Joshua Chin, who have proven that they've got the power to stay in front of this field here and make them work to your advantage now. But it looks like AJ Green's going to have this lap this time with Cole Fralick's help at his back bumper.
You got to wonder, remember Sims was in that accident. Does he have any bit of aero damage that's going to affect him here? It doesn't look like it as he's going to strong arm the 48 and take the lead through 1 and 2. We've got 5 laps to go. Fralick to the top of the charts now. He's going to go all the way to the outside wall down the backstretch with the 0-2 of Green pushing him. And now the 48, or the 0-2 of Austin pushing him, the 48 of Green to the middle and to the back. Push the 15 all the way to the top, but Sims still leads going into 3.
Jackson Sims still holds court there on the bottom side. Now Joshua Chin looks outside. Now the dynamic duo of Chin and Kraus have broken up. He's going to try and attack Sims on 2 different fronts here, but Fralick wants nothing of it and goes right around there and right around the outside of Chin and takes Gavin Austin right with him. That's a duo that might be hooked up together here all the way to the bitter end. 4 laps to go this time.
Chin goes backwards. It doesn't look like you want to leave your lane at this point. You're dedicated to what you've got. Sims and Kraus are going to work together. Fralick, big run on the top with Gavin Austin pushing him, and now that's Wesley Parker, the 3rd car in the outside lane. Do either of them jump out and make a move? Fralick to the bottom. Sims going to have nowhere to go, and he's going to be forced to push him, but Fralick to the point.
Fralick covers the spot now on Jackson Sims as they round turn 4, coming to 3 to go this time through the tri-oval. Cole Fralick trying to capitalize on championship leader William Schmidt's mistakes here as Sims shoves him out into that upper lane. Philip Kraus looks to make a move. I don't know if he's going to have any help. Yep, he will. They're 3 wide, and still Freilich manages to hang on to this lead as they rocket through turn number 2.
Yeah, I don't think Sims wanted to do what he did, but he did by accident, and it didn't really help anybody but Freilich, as now they're going to shove hard down the backstretch, and it's just a train as they inch closer and closer. It'll be 2 to go when they cross the line the next time by as they head off into turn 3. Sims now pushing Freilich clear of everybody else, and I believe that is John Daniels now in the bottom lane, now in 3rd from absolutely nowhere. Started 32nd today, up to 3rd.
Herculean effort from John Daniels now to get up to that 3rd spot. Now Jackson Sims ducks out of line to try and go get the run to get Freilich. Daniels gives Freilich a bump, a push, he's loose. The field is wrecking, everyone's involved. Freilich gets through. Wesley Parker gets through. Massive crash, 6 cars all made it through. Everyone else, I believe, is dead.
Sims looked like he was going to be okay, but he ends up getting turned once again. The person that this helps the most, William Schmidt, also Joe Armstrong, both of them had completely and utterly lost the pack, and they're going to be able to come all the way back. Freilich now is about the only survivor out of that whole situation, though. We'll have to see exactly how this all stacks back up, but it looked like a really bad bump from John Daniels to Cole Freilich that got it started, and then it kind of just accordioned from there, because Freilich never actually lost control. He drove that thing to survival mode. But at the same time that happened on the bottom, the top really kind of shook up, and Sims really got a really bad push and was also trying to save it up on the top, as we'll get a replay pulled up. But man, Freilich is genuinely, he looks like the hero right now. I mean, he's got a genuine shot at this. Wesley Parker has made it through. David Cabrera's 3rd. As you'll see, John Daniels, bad push, and then it was really a bad shot from Wesley Parker, and then into the O2 of Gavin Austin, unfortunately.
Yeah, that looked like two guys making the same move at the same time, going for the same piece of real estate between Austin and Parker, and that it ended up unfortunately collecting the rest of the field. Wesley Parker's still up there in the 2nd spot. Heavy, it looks like some damage there right to the center of the nose of his car. So if he doesn't pit, and it doesn't look like he will, that'll be interesting to watch to see how his damage makes that car behave, either because he's going to line up on the outside out in front of a lane there. He might be going backwards as we get another replay of it. Shades of 2012 fall Talladega in the Cup Series. The whole field involved, and it's just carnage up in turn number 3, or turn number 2, rather.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a situation. You're coming to 2 to go, and you got to take the runs where you can get them, and just everybody wasn't really lifting there. And wow, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, someone like Sims who thought he had it all under control. Freilich's lucky that he was able to hold on to that, but it was just an absolute mess behind them as all the runs kept coming. You said, after it kind of it kind of separated and then restacked, and those guys started accordioning back together, that was going to happen, and that's exactly what we ended up with.
Another look at it from Freilich looking back. You see the run that Sims got. John Daniels elects to stay with him, and I think John Daniels is just left to wonder what if he had taken the run with Sims instead of Freilich, because the freight train that was the bottom lane behind him was not stopping when John Daniels had to stop for Freilich, unfortunately. And you saw Daniels and then 2 cars behind him all getting spun around towards the inside wall as if there was just no brakes involved. I mean, you said it, Elliot, when you got the pushes, you got to take them.
Yeah, I think that's something that Sims and John Daniels are going to look back on and just be like, man, come on. For Sims' perspective, it's like, man, I had the run. I got to the outside. You got to know I'm going to side draft to 15, slow him down. I'm going to be the one with momentum. Why wouldn't you push me? And John Daniels will ideally look back at that and think the same thing of, I probably should have gone with him. But, you make the decision you make, and I don't fault John for what he did. You want to stay on the bottom, because we saw so many times a guy go to the middle lane and lose all the ground. Josh Chin did it. Joe Armstrong did it. These guys they kept they thought they had a run. They went to the middle. They just went backwards. So in John's shoes, he's probably like, Sims is going to go backwards. He's going to go to the middle. No one's going to go with him, and that's it. Luckily for Sims, that top line was still there. You got to think if John went with Sims, maybe that middle line would have just worked out. But it's a split-second decision at 190-something miles an hour. So, you know, a lot of new faces up front, whatever you want to say. But John Daniels made a move that he thought would put him in a spot to win, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him, Sims, or virtually anyone but Cole Fralick here. And now we'll have to see if Cole Fralick can hold on. He's still got a lot of horses behind him that can get this done. Remember, we talked about Nolan Sanford halfway through this race about how he was in a pack and lost a draft and a lap down and everything that happened. He is 5th right now, looking at a shot to win this. Josh Chin is still up here. He avoided that. He's 6th. He's going to line up behind Philip Kraus, who's 4th. Wesley Parker's just ahead of them. Those 3 are going to be fast. The 45's up there. He's been really good today. It's going to be a dogfight, and we've still got at least 3 green-white checkers to sort this out.
Lots of brawling left to do in Talladega as we've received the 1-to-go signal. Field is double filing up off of turn number 2, while the back half of the field is still coming around, trying to catch the back of the field after trying to repair all that damage that got caused in that most recent yellow flag that we just showed you. Fralick will lead this field to green when they get back to the start-finish line this time. Worth noting, Joe Armstrong is still up there, 5th row on the top side, with no bumper. Still soldiering on is Joe Armstrong, trying to maximize or minimize the damage at this point is what's happening with him. But watch that 22 car with the damage again with, well, I guess the back half of the field's got more damage too. So it'll be, I think the back half of the field's going to be just as interesting to watch as the front half with who's got what damage.
Well, if it's anything like last time, Joe Armstrong's going to go backwards, and you're going to have to watch William Schmidt, too, as well. He's back in about 20th. Those guys are still just in damage control, but I really got to question Joe's strategy. But so far, it's worked for him. He's still top 10 as pace car pulls off, and we'll get this first green-white checkered underway.
The first attempt at a green-white checkered as pace car pulls off and down into pit lane. Cole Fralick leads the field through the tri-oval down to the restart zone. He's got the 22 of Wesley Parker to his outside there. Green flag is back out. Parker's going to have the advantage, or the help rather, with Philip Kraus and Joshua Chin on his outside. Now here comes Cabrera back to the back bumper of Fralick. They're going to be side by side as they head off into turn number 1. Still nice and orderly all the way back.
And someone just blew up the 3. Sims is in it. They're wrecking hard back there.
Caution is back out. The 3 car of Aston Rice comes to a halt there on the exit of turn number 2. As well, you see the damage there to Sims, and boy, if it was an engine blow up.
I believe the 3 money shifted, which would be going from like 3rd gear to 1st gear. It looked like at a shift point, like going from 3rd to 4th, he went to 1st, and it just immediately grenaded because the car just stopped, and the 24 of AJ Hyder runs in the back of him. Sims was getting turned because he saw the issue happening and gets turned down into the 3, unfortunately. And then I believe that's Paul in the 75. I'm so sorry for pronouncing your last name as many times as I'm going to, but McCallsiak, that was also an unfortunate bystander in all of this. We're going to go on board with him.
Yep, everybody's getting up to speed, nice and orderly, and then, yeah, just brakes applied, be it engine or or wheel brakes, and unfortunately collects at least 2 other cars, namely Jackson Sims there in the chrome number 6, takes another huge hit, and he will continue to limp that car home towards the end of this race.
Well, William Schmidt survives another day. I don't believe Joe Armstrong is committed to pitting, and we're just going to have to see how this second green-white checkered works itself out. But All of this is helping William Schmidt. He has gone from, he was 100% going to finish 25th. He is now in a decent shot to finish 18th to 20th, which, if it finished how it did right now, they'd borderline be tied in the points, or Schmidt would have anywhere from a 3 or 4 point lead. But if Schmidt can keep gaining a couple more spots, potentially get a top 15, and Freilich does not win, then Schmidt should come out of here with about a 10-point lead in points. Remember, that win gets you anywhere from 43 to 44 points, depending if you get that bonus point for the most laps led, and second on back is at least 38 or less points. So that boost of about 5 points for the win is what's really helping Freilich, and what he really needs to make this an actual championship fight going into Homestead.
And he'll need all the help that he can get. It's roughly a 30-point gap back to Freilich in the second position in the championship standings. So Freilich giving her all she's got, while William Schmidt tries to rebound from what could have been a disastrous night. Elliot, these plate races are never over. I'll say it, and I'll die on that hill. They're never over until that checkered flag falls.
No, and you just never know what's going to happen. That's why, you have to be resilient like William Schmidt is here, and just, get as much of that damage done as you can. I'm really interested to know how much damage he had. He has pitted every single time and sat here for, a minute or so on pit road. So he's had at least 3, 4, 5 minutes that he's had to repair so far. So that car was definitely in a bad heap, and it's not going to get a whole lot better, but it's just the fact that he's trying to get it to a point where maybe in the draft he can at least contend, and if they all wreck on the white flag, he can go ahead and pick himself up 5 or 6 spots, and that would gratefully put him in a good spot. If he can come out of here with a top 15, borderline a top 10, that would be phenomenal compared to where he was going to end up about 15 to 20 laps ago.
Field slowly making their way out of turn number 3 now. Single file, they'll receive the 1 to go this time. Cole Freilich will lead the field. And we will have our second attempt at a green-white checkered in the 14th race of the OSRL Premier Series, season 11, I believe. It's been a barn burner. Let's see if we can re-rack, restack, and bring it on home here. Wesley Parker will be on the outside. Then David T. Cabrera on the inside, back behind Freilich in the second row. Philip Kraus will line up in the 4th position. And his drafting buddy, if you will, Joshua Chen. I believe they're teammates. Joshua Chen lines up in the 5th spot. The 52, Nolan Sanford, we talked about his up and down, mostly down. Now he's up. Big night. He will line up in the 6th spot with the 52 and 53 lining up right next to each other in terms of position running. The 53 of Griffin Jones, who I don't think we talked about at all tonight. Griffin Jones come out of nowhere here. He will line up in that 7th spot. Then you get on back to pretty much everybody else who's either got damage or has somehow narrowly avoided everything somehow.
"23 drivers left on the lead lap. Looks like about 13 in that main group. We haven't talked about Chris Lilly in a long time, but we mentioned him early on in the race. He is still 13th. I may or may not have just heard another engine expire. I hope it wasn't AJ Green, but I guess we'll find out. Doesn't look like anybody, so it may have been somebody sitting on pit road already. But we'll go green with 13 guys that we feel are undamaged. About 23 left in the group, and I believe that puts William Schmidt about 15th. Joe Armstrong is still up there in 9th with massive damage. Cole Freilich, your other points contender, will lead them down to the green flag to start the second green-white checkered attempt alongside Wesley Parker.
Pace cars in this time here, as Cole Freilich will now have control of the field. He will lead them through the tri-oval down to the restart zone with Wesley Parker to his outside. Look for the jump that Wesley Parker can try and get once again. He had a good restart this last time. Will he be able to stay with Freilich this time? Freilich, foot on the gas. Parker's getting a huge bump from Philip Kraus to try and keep him up there with him. Now comes the help from Cabrera up to the back bumper of Freilich. They're still going to be side by side once again when they head off into turn number 1.
Don't look now, but William Schmidt actually has a front bumper. Josh Chin's up here in the top 5. We might have a bit of a war here that's about to unfold as we come off of turn 2. The 22 of Wesley Parker getting a push. The 45 to the top. Freilich blocks it off. Cabrera wants the lead. Here comes the third lane.
Third lane, the 77 car of Bud Lemick there up on the outside lane with help from the 24 of AJ Hyder there on the outside. They're trying to make it up to that top spot. Freilich back out front, getting a huge push from Josh Chin, trying to clear this pack entirely, and tandem away once again is that 93 car of Joshua Chin. They're going to come through this through the tri-oval. White flag in the air this time. 1 lap to go at Talladega.
This race is officially official. We're going to finish this one out. Can the tandem work? And who's going to catch him? There's packs behind them, but Chin is still shoving Freilich all the way through 1 and 2. The pack is 3 by 3 behind him with the 45 and the 53 side by side. That's Griffin Jones and David Cabrera. The 77 of Nicholas Badulmik is up top. They're all coming to him. Josh Chin's going to run this out. He's potentially going to blow the engine, but he just wants to push Freilich to this win. They're still pushing through 3 and 4.
They've still got the tandem working, but here comes that pack led by David T. Cabrera there and Nicholas Badimlik there as they're going to wreck on the outside. Now it's going to be a 4-car drag race down to the bottom, 2-car drag race. Here comes the 15 of Freilich. Josh Chin's got it on the outside. Give it to Josh Chin. He will win at Talladega.
And that's exactly what Josh Chin wanted to do. Shades of Kevin Harvick and Jamie McMurray here at Talladega. Push them out as far as you can and then just make it work at the end. You see Philip Kraus giving Josh Chin a bit of credit there, saying, good job, buddy. I'm glad you got it done. But Chin from absolutely nowhere to be able to push Freilich out and do exactly what he wanted to do. He just made that work. Officially, William Schmidt crosses the line in 21st, Joe Armstrong 14th, Cole Freilich 2nd. We're going to have a championship battle in Homestead between the 15 and the 79, albeit a little bit less tight than what it could have been if Freilich would have come out of here the winner, but we're going to have a championship battle.
Josh Chin timed that run perfect. I mean, you couldn't have timed it any better. Down through the tri-oval there, he's on the outside. Cabrera's got nowhere to go, and then that bump there to send him down, send Freilich down, really messed up his momentum there, and really just sealed the deal there as he comes across the line. Spectacular racing from the driver of that 93 car to bring it home and claim the checkered flag here in Talladega.
I mean, we talk about how good Josh Chin's his ability is. He runs IndyCar, he runs a lot of different stuff, but right here he showed that he knows exactly how to make the draft work and how to make pushes happen. And he just pushed Freilich out there, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do as soon as they started getting gone. I'm sure he had set that up in his head before this restart even happened, and he got to the right spot and he made that work. And that was an absolute masterclass. That was beautiful to watch. And you know, Freilich's probably frustrated, but it was it's something that you got to be aware of. And I'm sure as soon as they started getting out, Freilich knew, yep, this is what's going to happen to me. And that was perfectly done by Josh Chin.
Josh Chin continues to burn it down. Nope, he's just going backwards. It's not even a Polish victory lap. I don't know what you'd call that. A Kenyan? We'll call it a Kenyan victory lap, going backwards around the track. And he loses it into the outside wall. Well, he's earned it. A great finish from him. Burn it down on the back straightaway for the fans out there. This you mentioned it, Elliot. This sets up a heck of a battle next week at Homestead there for the final race of the season. I wish we had the points readily available to see what we were looking at when it comes to that, but it's going to be a good one. It definitely can't miss action next week on the Split Second Broadcasting Network. We'll be live for the final race of the season.
Waiting to get Josh Chin in here. We may pull Cole Freilich up in the meantime just to get an interview in. Just trying to see if Josh is going to join, but I'll go ahead and pull Cole Freilich up. And Cole, P2
Hi.
tonight. How about that?
Well, that went fully not to my plan. I planned to stay at the rear the whole day, and I just somewhere within 20 to go, I decided screw it, it's go time, and I picked the perfect time because that's when the big one happened. So yeah, I was really happy with that. I really like how this car races. I hadn't got to do much pack running. I didn't really have internet until yesterday. I lost my internet Monday night. Didn't get it back up till last night. So truthfully, this is like the first legit race I've got to do with the car. But yeah, pretty happy. Good job to Chin. He played that one perfect. I kind of knew I was played coming off 4 there because I asked if we were tandeming and they said yeah. I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna try not to bleed off to 3rd there, and it almost happened. But yeah, Chin did a really good job there. He played it very smart.
So you've got a little bit of a gap here that you got to deal with Schmidt. How do you focus on that going into Homestead and trying to reclaim that championship and go back to back here?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to see how the points work out. But if we can just have a good run at Homestead, I mean, I think we'll do good. Tonight really helped us out because I needed to make up some points on Joe because I know Joe's going to be really strong come next week. Schmitty, he's been right with me all season. It's literally been it's been a replay of last season where we've just been together, and we kind of got this running joke that like we can't get away from each other. So every week during practice, we'll match each other's times, and I'll key up the radio, be like, I can't get away from this guy, and he'll do the same thing. So yeah, me and Schmitty, we're kind of stuck like glue. So who knows? It always comes down to the last race with us.
Well, it's been a really fun battle, and we're looking forward to finishing off with you guys next week. And you know, whoever takes it home, you guys have definitely put on a great show all season long. Both models of consistency with how many top 10s, top 5s you guys have put together. Anyone you want to thank for this run tonight?
Just want to thank Simrap Market. This wasn't a Simrap Market paint tonight, but we'll have that for the finale. Kart Chaser, Princeton Drugstore, Rain Race Podcast. I guess I got to thank Michael Waltrip for having a Napa car back in the day. This car was inspired by the 2005 car a little bit, and yeah, it ran good. I started feeling like 2003 Michael Waltrip there, just blocking high, low, wherever they were running. It's really fun to block in this car, so yeah, just thanks to those people. I really appreciate you guys still being on board broadcasting this deal. You guys provide excellent coverage, and happy to have you guys here. And yeah, just thanks to Oates and Jack for dealing with us on a weekly basis.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you can do at Homestead. That's your runner-up tonight, Cole Freilich, going for the championship next week in Homestead here on OSRL. And next we'll bring in David Cabrera, tonight's 3rd place finisher. David, you got us?
Hello, I got you.
Well, it's not often we get to talk to you, buddy, but how about that? 3rd place finish. You were kind of all over the board, started all the way back out in 28th. We didn't talk to you much until the end of the race, but you stuck it out and got there. Just go ahead and walk us through your day and what put you in the place to maybe get a win there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, when we were doing the formation laps, I just pitted because I wanted to be at the back because, well, I kind of knew like we might get some cautions early on, and I didn't want to be involved. And obviously, there were some in the front, so we did that. We had a couple cautions early on, and we had a good green run. Which, if I wasn't all the way in the second pack, because we had like 2 packs, you had the leaders, and then you had one just riding around in the back. We were just losing time. So I needed a caution if I wanted to win, and we got the caution. I don't know what was the reason for, like after the pit cycles, but we got the caution. And then, yeah, I just decided to stop riding around the back and try to go to the front, which it worked on some occasion. I got the run. Some runs weren't working, some did. There was like at one point, I got the dirt lane working somewhat, and then people blocked my runs, and then we had more cars up there, but it didn't get moving. So, yeah, it was pretty chaotic. Not too chaotic for me, but it was. I was trying to get the runs, and all of a sudden, I see myself in the top 5, and then we were P2, I think, at one point.
Did you have any idea that that tandem will be able to work for Freilich and Shin at the end? Is that something that you expect them to be able to pull off and drive away from you?
I know the tandem can work, like, because I've seen it, like, if you have a good enough pusher, like, you can get it working. I didn't think they would pull out that much, but when we were on the final lap, once they were pulling away, I was like, oh, I don't know if I get the win, because we were 3, I was in the middle, and then going into 3, I was clear on the bottom, and I think if I had the 53 right on me, I think I could have pulled the move a bit earlier, but with those two fighting up there, like making the move, with the 93 making the move, I thought maybe I could get second, but just P3, which, I mean, honestly, for how I was doing, and not doing this race, this league that much anymore, I'm happy. I'm happy with a P3.
It was awesome to see you up there, David. Hope to see you out for more of these races, potentially in the finale next week. Is there anyone you want to go ahead and thank for tonight's awesome run?
Oh yeah, the people that run this league. Oates, which I think he's in Japan. I don't know where he's at. Painter, even though he messed up the start time of the sim session, thanks him. Everybody that runs this league. I don't know who else to thank, but yeah, I might do Homestead because I got nothing else to do next week, so we might do that.
Well, we're looking forward to you, David. Hope you have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you too.
And last but certainly not least, we will bring in tonight's winner, the first to tackle this brand new Gen 4 car, Josh Chin. Welcome to the booth, Josh. Congratulations on your win. Take us through that last restart. Did you know the tandem was going to be that powerful coming into this race, or did you have to figure it out through the throughout the event?
I kind of had an idea it was going to be pretty good. Just didn't know how it was going to work out on that last restart, if David was going to stay with Cole or if he was going to pop. And he popped out of the way, and it kind of opened the door to just sit there in tandem with Cole, and no one was pushing David. So it worked out great for that. And then from there, it was just making sure to push him as far as I could and have enough of a lead so those guys can get back to us when we started side drafting each other back in trial, and it worked out perfect.
Yeah, when you were coming back off of turn number 4, did you know when the perfect moment was to pull out and go for the pass on Freilich, or was it just a Hail Mary? I got to try something.
I had a rough idea when to do it. It was mainly just making sure with the guys behind that they weren't getting too close, and I kind of had to wait a little bit till we were basically at the start of the trial to do it. If you do it any earlier, they'll get back to you. And David and Griffin probably would have won the race instead of one of us. They got really close to the line. So it's just timing and patience and making sure that don't let anyone else get into it.
Well, man, you timed it perfectly. We couldn't stop singing your praises on the broadcast there. A great move to clinch the checkered flag right there at the end. It was awesome, an awesome finish to watch. Take us through. This is obviously a new car to iRacing. There's been a lot of hype around it. What are your opinions and thoughts on how it races, especially at Talladega here? There's been a lot of hype around this Superspeedway package. How does it differ from the previous Gen 4 car that the series used to race?
It's a little easier to build runs than the old car. The old car would kind of get draft locked 3x3. We had a lot of Daytona earlier this season. Overall, it seems like it's easier to have runs kind of form and dissipate, and you have a little bit more movement. You don't end up with 3 lanes that are just stuck there. People can kind of build runs. Lines can move around. I know at one point we had a top line that was basically the way to be, and then before the pit stops, we had all the cars on the bottom. So it kind of moves around. I think the car might need a little bit more of a bubble for pushing than it has now. I think we experienced it a little bit, but it probably needs a little bit more to how these cars actually race. But overall, it's pretty fun on speedways, and hopefully it's pretty good at Homestead next week as well.
I'm certain that it will be. It was great to watch you guys put on an absolute barn burner of a race here tonight. Do you have anybody to thank for your awesome run here tonight before we let you go and enjoy your win?
Big shout out to Phil Kraus for working with me all race. Just ran a great race overall. Pit stops went really well and we connected well and just ran a great race. Thanks to everyone at Powerslide, Team Hype. And yeah, thanks to you guys for the broadcast and everyone in OSRL for putting the series on.
Well, we appreciate it, Josh. Thanks for coming in and talking to us. Congratulations once again on the win. Now go enjoy your night, buddy.
Yep, thank you guys.
And with that, we'll go ahead and run through our finishing order for tonight and wrap it up and get our closing thoughts. Josh Chin comes home your winner here tonight. Cole Freilich finishes just behind him in second spot. David Cabrera rebounds for a nice night in third. Griffin Jones out of nowhere finishes fourth there. Had the run there to the line. Couldn't make it happen there. Caden Reif brings home fifth. Noah Carmichael from the back of the field, 27th starting position. He winds up in the sixth spot. Philip Kraus, a name that we talked about all night long, winds up in the seventh spot. Mo Perry, up and down night for him from a speeding penalty to leading the field. He was all over the place. Eighth place finish for him. Nolan Sanford comes home ninth, and Ben Billard rebounds for a 10th spot.
And in 11th, you had Chris Lilly after starting 26th. 12th was Gavin Austin. We talked about him a while tonight. Ends up 12th. Ryan Pandicio ends up 13th, with Joe Armstrong sitting there in 14th. AJ Hyder ends up 15th, with AJ Green right behind him in 16th tonight. Trey Patton and John Daniels both from the back of the field trying to get it done. John with that late race thought he had Cole Freilich, but they'll end up 17th and 18th respectively. Nicholas Boldilmick will end up 19th after starting 24th. And Wesley Parker, who was up and down all night, but mainly running up towards the front of the end, unfortunately comes home in 20th.
William Schmidt comes home in the 21st spot. Not the night that he was looking for certain. Puts him a little bit behind the eight ball when it comes to Homestead Miami Speedway next week for the championship race, which we will be covering next Thursday night. Brandon Hawken, your pole sitter on the night, finishes in the 22nd spot. Jackson Sims, 23rd. I'm going to get this right. Paul Mikolajczyk, I think, comes home in the 24th spot. Aston Rice, 25th. Curtis Kelly led early. Unfortunately, got caught up in a bunch of incidents. Winds up 8 laps down in 26th. Kendall Carpenter, another heavy hitter who got wrapped up in a bunch of incidents, finishes in the 27th spot. Cade McKee finishes in the 28th position. Corey Rexford brings it home 29th. And Ethan Corder rounds out the top 30, 23 laps down.
And the rest of the field here all involved in either that massive incident or other incidents earlier in the race. Frank DeAngelis ends up 31st. Derek Shaver, 32nd. Braden Movick, 33rd after making a lot of big moves. Chris Pervalarkis, we talked about him a bunch of different times, 34th. Stephen Gibson, who ran up front for a little bit after starting towards the back, will end up 35th. Tristan Baker, 36th. And Isaac Johnson will round out your field in 37th tonight.
That's your full field rundown. Now, Elliot, points have been updated. This is huge. With the drop, Cole Freilich is actually your points leader by 11 points. He's got an 11-point advantage over William Schmidt heading into the final race in Homestead. That is massive, a massive swing for Freilich going into a track that he is really, really good at.
Yeah, the drop is always what kind of throws you off, but, anything can still happen. Freilich even said it because they talked about it after the race, but, anything can happen between these two. Obviously, it was a 27-point gap coming in, and it's 11 points leaving in the opposite direction now. So it just goes to show if you get involved in something at Homestead, which is always possible, that it could flip-flop either way, and you won't know until the checkered flag is thrown at the end of next week's event. So we'll have to just wait and see. Honestly, there's no one wants to obviously make a guess on which one's going to happen. But Schmidt seems to think that Freilich got it. Freilich seems to think that it's not over. So we'll have to see. They're both really strong competitors, and to Freilich's point in the interview, they're always running with each other. So hopefully they don't get into each other at Homestead, but we'll have to see just how competitive they are and what strategies they pull on each other to try to put themselves ahead of each other.
Either way, it's going to be can't miss action that we will have right here on the Split Second Broadcasting Network, same time next Thursday night to round out the season of the OSRL Premier Series. That's going to wrap it up for us here tonight from Talladega. From everybody at the Split Second Broadcasting booth, I'm Hunter Brittle alongside Elliot Henderson. Jeff Johnson's the man behind the scenes. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week in Homestead. Good night.